I'll be covering the part of documentation in ITP. So you may wonder why we have a separate section for documentation in ITP. In previous modules, I hope you have submitted like 1 to 2 assignments. Here, throughout this module, you had to submit a series of documentation throughout this module. So without further ado, okay, this is me. I'm Irushi Gunawardhana, currently a third year software engineer undergraduate, as well as an intern software engineer at JRC Software, and also the vice secretary of SLIIT Post Community and the sub-marketing lead of MS Club of SLIIT. So if you take a look at the today's content, I'll be first covering the overview of the documentation in ITP. And the most important thing when it comes to the documentation is the assessment, because why we are getting marks for that. And also, I'll be covering the part activities and the diagrams and report formatting, and finally some key points. So as you can see, there are 5 components in this documentation in ITP. I hope that you have already submitted your project charter. In there, you had to submit 8 functions for 8 members. And throughout that, your lecturers and instructors will be giving you a feedback. It is very mandatory for you to attend those evaluation sessions, because why? They will be giving you separate feedbacks, whether your scope is large, whether your scope is small, whether there are anything you need to modify. You have to attend them and do your modification and go to the next evaluation. And secondly, the first assignment will be the project proposal. And after that, you need to submit the project progress report. And finally, the final report. And while doing those things, you need to do the activities as well. So what are these activities? I would call these activities at the base for your assignment. You will know why when we come to that part. So I'll be starting the assessment. That is the most important thing, because we are getting marks for that. As you can see, this is a screenshot I took from our semester. So you are having main 3 assessment. First one would be the project proposal, which will contain 20% for your final grade. And secondly, the progress. It will be 35% for your final mark. And finally, the final product will be the 45%. So in all these assignment, you will be having a documentation part, and there is the assessment one. So in here, if you can see, this is the marking guide that have been provided for us in our semester. I hope it will be the same for you as well. If you can see, when they are giving an assignment, they will be publishing a marking guide as well. So there are separate sections and the marks allocated for each and every section. So if you look closely, the marks are allocated differently. So as an example, if you put the same weight amount that you put into the background for the methodology, which will contain 25%, and the background will only contain 5%. So if you are putting the same weight for the methodology as well, you won't be getting the full marks for that. So that is why you need to follow this marking guide and be organized when you get the marking guide. So that is the first thing that you need to do when you get your marking guide. Go and follow that. If there are 8 topics, don't divide it among the 8 members. First, check the weight of your marking guide. And after that, you can divide the topics with your members. So that will be the final assignment. Which contain 10% for your project proposal. And in the assignment 1, you will be having a presentation for that as well. That would be the section 2. So in here, the most important thing is time and working as a team. Because I hope you have worked with 4 to 5 members, but I hope you haven't worked with 8 members so far in your previous semester. So when you come to the 8 members, the time is very crucial. You are having like 30 minutes for the presentation. If the lecturer told you to finish your presentation by 30 minutes, you will not be getting any extra minutes for that. So you have to be done within 30 minutes. So when you are doing the presentation, first you have to do is be very organized. And because there are 8 members, if the first 4 members take 20 minutes, the last 4 members have only 10 minutes to do the presentation. Even though they have present or not, your time won't will be extended. So the first thing when you are getting the presentation is you have to be very organized and keep track of your time. So that will be give you a plus mark when you come to the presenting. And when you do the presentation, add only the important and necessary part to your presentation slides. Because why? If you divide the 30 minutes by 8, a member will be getting like 3 to 4 minutes. So that means time is very small, and you need to give your full and clear idea to the instructors in a very short period of time. So because of that, you need to be very careful of the time and be organized when it comes to the presentation. So the second assignment would be the progress review. And there also you will be having a document part which will contain 5% for your final grade. And here also you need to check the section and the marking weight for each and every section. As I already mentioned, if you forgot to put any section into your report, you won't be getting marks. So as an example here, you have to put your JIT repository link here, and it will give you 60% of your mark. So even though it is a link, if you forgot to put that, you won't be getting marks for that, even though you have a JIT repository there. So follow these guidelines and work according to this marking guide. And finally, now you have submitted documents, and finally you have the final report and the demonstration. In here, the final report, which will 15% for your final grade, which will contain the large amount of documentation marks, which is 15% to your final grade. So you have to do 5 chapters there. First one would be the introduction and the requirements and the design and development and the testing and evolution and conclusion. So likewise that you will be having 5 chapters. And if you can see in here also that you have to do the background and problem and motivation, which you have already done in your first assignment, which was the project proposal. So when you have done with the project proposal, you are being evaluated by your instructors or the lecturer. So they will give you a feedback after you are submitting your project proposal. So when you get that feedback, you have to note down and do the modification and submit the final report. So just don't copy paste from your project proposal to the final report, even though the topics are same. You have to do the modification and do the submission. So this will be the marking guide for your final report. If you can see, there's a special content called formatting, and you will be getting marks for that. So for other documentation, we didn't have that part, but in the final documentation, you will be getting marks for the formatting as well, which will contain 10% for your final report. And also, when it comes to the referencing and citation, you are getting marks for that as well. In the project proposal also, if you can remember, there were marks allocated for referencing. So even though you think it is okay 5% and 10%, that you don't have to care about that. That is the most important thing that you need to care about when it comes to the report. Because if you have a clear and concise report and a better formatting and references included, that's how your report going to be a good report. So include them and do a good report. And if you can remember, there was a separate section called testing for your final report. It is another chapter. I think you have done test cases in your previous module, but I would like to refresh your memory about the test cases a little bit. So what is a test case? A test case is like in each and every member are having a function. So in those function, you are expecting an output. So you are expecting an output, but your actual output is different. Your test case has failed, but your expected output is equal to the actual output. That means your test case has passed. Likewise, that in that chapter, each and every member have to do their test cases and submit in your report. Okay, so the activities. As I mentioned in earlier, I would call these activities as the foundation for your assignment. If you look closely, there are three activities that you have to do. First one would be the requirements engineering activity, and the second one would be the agile activity, and third one would be the design activity. So if you can remember, in the final report, you had a separate section called requirements and design as well. So if you look here, you are having separate activities for the requirements and design as well. So these activities you have to done before the final report. That means if you have done this activity earlier and you have completed all these activities and submitted these things, when you come to the final report, it is very easy for you to do them because you have already done your requirement gathering and the design activities. You just have to modify the your activities according to the lecturers or instructors' feedback. So you can just add them into your final report. Because when it comes to the final report, the final evaluation will contain 45% for your final grade and the implementation will contain 30% for your final grade. So you will be focusing on the implementation more than the documentation. So if you have done these activities earlier, you will be able to do this assignment very easily when you come to the final report. Importantly, so in there, if you can remember, the second activity was the agile activity. So what is a Kanban board? We are using Kanban board to manage our work. So it could be personal or organization level. So why I recommend you to use this Kanban board? Because this project is a very large project, and there are 8 members and 8 functions that you have to implement, and lot of work, lot of deadlines, and lot of submission, lot of vivas. And in your personal function also, there are different implementation that you need to do. So sometimes you may forget what you have put in your project proposal in the function. So if you can maintain a Kanban board, you can organize your task very perfectly. So if I show you this, this was a part of my Kanban board which I have used for our project. So as you can see, you can design your own Kanban board. You can be creative as you want. You can put the next step and the progress, what are the work you have done, and you can give separate colors for each and every member. Like way you can be creative. So, and also this will help you to uh, manage your work very well, and you know what, okay, I have done this part, okay, this is the part that I have to. Likewise, that you will have a better idea if you are using a Kanban board to manage your work. So this is done in Trello. There are many other softwares, so you can, there are many online resources available as well. Go and watch them. Use the Kanban board for your ITP as well. Okay, so the third activity was based on diagrams, and I hope you have done all these diagram in your previous modules. But I would like to refresh your memory. Like first one would be the behavioral diagrams. Behavioral diagrams. What are behavioral diagrams? So behavioral diagrams show how your system behaves. And the structural diagram show how different components and entities relate to each other. Likewise, that there are different behavioral diagrams and structural diagrams as well. So I would go one by one just to refresh your memory about them. So use case diagram. So if you can remember why we use a use case diagram is, the reason is to show the interaction between the actors and the system. As you can see, we have actors there, the relationship, they include and extend. Likewise, that you need to create a use case diagram for your project as well, your system, so you can put it into your reports. So in the use case diagram, I think you have to submit in several documents. So go and follow them. So if you have forgot about these things, go and refresh your memory. So it will help you. When it comes to the sequence diagram, I think you had this in your software engineering module. And in there, why we use a sequence diagram is to show how objects interact in a particular sequence. So if you are using a sequence diagrams for your report, you can show them as well. So there will be some diagrams they require, likewise the ER diagram is required and the use case diagram is required, and they will specify which diagram that you need to include, and other diagrams can be as you want. So you can choose another diagram if you want, like a state chart or a communication diagram as well. And this is a simple example for activity diagram as well. So as you already know, the activity diagram is used to show the flow control of the system. This is a simple activity diagram, and there are components like starting and ending points, likewise that. So when you come to the class diagram, which is a structural diagram, so it will show how the structure of the system is and the methods and the attributes, likewise that. So when you come to the diagrams, it is better to design them during your activities because designing diagram will take a little bit of time. So when it come to the final report, you have a separate section for the designing. So actually, sometimes you may don't have enough time to draw all these diagrams. But if you have done these things during your activities, it will be very easy for you to when you come to the final report. Okay. So if you can remember in the first content, I have told you that I'm going to be talking about the report formatting. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you heard the word report? So for me, it's formal because the report is something very formal and it is not like any other document, like it's not just a text. So you have to be very formal when you are writing your report. There are some guidelines that you need to follow. There are some writing style that you need to maintain throughout your report. So if I talk about the writing styles and the tips, so the first one I would say, as I already mentioned, is the formal language. You have to use the formal language because the report is a very formal document, and you need to avoid the first person as well, and be clear and concise because they will be giving you a marking guide as well. So they will be asking you to, okay, this section should be there. That was that. So, and also they will be mentioning, okay, the report should be contain 20 pages. So when it come to the 20 pages, you need to divide your work into 20 pages and submit the report. So to do that, you need to have a better idea of the content, and be clear and concise mean you need to add only the necessary point to your report. And when you're adding points to your report, this is a very important thing to do, is to do the referencing. If you are telling a point, you need to give a validation to that point. As an example, if I tell, so if you put a point like this in your report, so if you tell that 5% of the whole population in world are facing hunger. So if you are just telling that point, there's no validation for that. So if you are telling a point like that, you need to give validation for that. How you can do is by the referencing. So if you haven't done referencing before, this is the chance for you to learn because it's not something very hard. If you have done this earlier, it is easy for you. But you haven't done that, you can learn. And finally, you have to maintain a proper grammar and spelling throughout this report. That is a very important thing because we need to understand what you are saying in the report. And when a key point when it comes to the report is when, okay, now you have done your report. Don't just submit your report. Proofread. If you are proofreading one time, you will encounter uh, encounter at least one mistake you have done. So it is not the leader's responsibility to proofread because these documents are very large. So there are 8 members. So you can share the work with each other and proofread each other's work. And after that, if you have done your proofread 1 to 3 times, now you have modified your documents 3 times. So after 3 times, you will be getting a good report at the end of the day. When it comes to the referencing, the format we are using is the IEEE referencing, and that is the most frequently used referencing format in technical field. That is what we use in here. If you don't know anything about the IEEE referencing format, go to the IEEE website. there's a whole documentation about the referencing, how you can do the referencing, how to do. And I hope a lot of you are using the Microsoft Word document to edit your report. So in there, there's a way you can put the IEEE referencing into your document. There are several YouTube resources that are available, so go and watch them. It is not very hard. Even though the mark is 5%, go and watch them and edit to your report. So it will give you a good report. So these are some text citation that you need to follow. As an example, shown here, you need to follow the square bracket principle when it comes to the referencing. You can't add curly brackets or any other brackets. You have to put the square bracket. And I would like to tell these key points when it comes to the referencing. I think that is the most important thing when it comes to the IEEE referencing format. When you are referencing, you need to add the reference at the end of your document, not the front, not just after your reference, not the end of your page. You have to add them after your whole document. And when you are referencing, you need to put them in order. So as an example, if I say there's a reference in chapter 1, you need to put them in as first. So after that, if there's another one, you need to put them after that. So you have to maintain the order as well as you need to put them at the end of your report. So this is an example for the IEEE referencing format. This is for the electronic documents. So this is just only for the electronic documents, how you can refer to the electronic documents. There are many other resources available, such as physical books. In the SLIIT also we are having a library. So you can put them as well. So if you don't know how to add the reference, go to the IEEE website. There are many documentation available. It is not hard. It is very easy to learn them and add them into your document. So this is the report formatting that is required to be done in your reports. This is a screenshot I took in our marking guideline. So in here they will be telling you what will be the margin size, what would be the font size, what is the font. Likewise, that all the guidelines are there. So follow them. So I would recommend you when you are doing your final report, have a base format first and share them. Just don't add the all the details at the end of the end of your data collection. So you can one person can edit a empty Word document and share it with other people. So it will be very easy for them as well. So you can put a comment if you are forgetting, okay, the font size should be like this. Likewise, that you can put comments as well. So this is also the part of the report formatting section. And yeah, so that would be the part for the documentation. And I would like to give you some key points when it comes to the documentation. I think this will be applied to all other things because this is just a part. You will have to do the designing as well as the implementation, documentation, and viva. Likewise, that this ITP module is containing a large amount of work. So when you come to the key points, the first thing is don't miss your deadline because you have to do presentations, viva, submission, activities, assignments. A lot of deadlines are there. So don't miss it. So it is not always the leader's responsibility. Leader is there to guide you, but there are 8 members. You have your own responsibility. So always follow your course web and check the course web notices because they will be publishing all the necessary details there. It is not the lecturers or the leaders or instructors' responsibility to tell you, okay, you are having a submission on this date. You have to do it on your own and follow the formatting guidelines as well. There are all formatting guidelines that are included and they will be publishing in their course web. So you have to follow them as well. And when it's come to the IDP, you have to be creative and innovative because that would be a plus point for you. So you can be very innovative when it comes to ITP because there are no restriction when you choosing the topic. So be creative. And the most important thing, to do a better job is organizing and the teamwork. You have to be very organized because, as I already mentioned, there are a lot of work to do. So submission deadlines, 8 members, 8 functions, likewise that. And the teamwork is very important. Work with your team and always don't think it is leader's responsibility to tell you, okay, there's a deadline, you have to do this. And each and every member has a responsibility towards your team. You have to work together, help each other so you can do a great job. So, yeah, all the best for your project. I hope you will be doing a great job. Thank you.